This video I'm going to be still working with objects within Java, and my idea this time is I'm going to create an object to represent a sandwich. And once I'm done creating my object, what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate the principle of encapsulation. I'm going to use get and set variables, or get and set methods for each of my variables, and I'll show you how that's going to work and how we're going to interact with our object once I do that. So let's get started. Create a new project, and we're going to call this sandwich objects. And I'm going to add in a sandwich object. So I'm going to right click, new, Java class, and we're going to call it sandwich. So this will be my sandwich class, I should say. Sandwich class. Okay, so what kind of properties would my sandwich need to have? I probably want to have things like a price, what type of lunch, what type of cheese would be on there, and whether it's toasted or not. So let's go with this first. So we're going to say string lunch meat type, and then cheese type. So things like, am I going to put ham or roast beef? That's what this one would be for. And the cheese could be like, is there cheddar? Is it provolone? Whatever, right? So these would be strings. Let's put a double for the price. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a variable called isToasted. Now, isToasted, I'm going to make this a true or false variable. So I'm going to use a type of variable called a Boolean. Boolean means true or false. I'm going to call this thing isToasted. So a Boolean variable is a true or false variable. So I can set isToasted to true, or I can set isToasted to false. So there's going to be my sandwich object. And I'll go ahead and build a constructor for it too. Public sandwich. And we're going to say string underscore lunch meat. Oops. And the string underscore cheese type. And then double underscore price. And then Boolean underscore isToasted. So again, these variable names I'm putting in the brackets here, I want them to be similar to the ones that are built into my class here, but not exactly the same. So I usually just put an underscore in front. And then I can just say lunch meat type equals underscore lunch meat type. So we're just going to replace the variable with what came in the brackets here. Do the same for the rest. Cheese type equals underscore cheese type. Price equals underscore price, and then isToasted equals underscore isToasted. Perfect. So this is my sandwich object. I'm just going to leave it at this for now. We're going to add more to it in a second though. Now let's go to the main, and we're going to create a sandwich object and then print it out. We're going to make an instance of the sandwich. So let's go with sandwich. Let's call it S1 equals new sandwich bracket, and the order does matter what I'm putting here. So the first thing is lunch meat type, so let's put in roast beef. The next thing was cheese, so let's go with provolone. I think I spelled that right. I might have spelled it wrong, I'm not sure. Double is price, so next, so let's say it's I don't know, $6.99. And the last thing, is it toasted, right? So isToasted. Let's say it is. So we're going to say it's true. Okay, so I've made my sandwich object. Now let's go ahead and print out the details. And we just want to verify it actually works. Oops. No, we don't want system error. System out, println, s1 dot lunch meat. System out, println s1 dot cheese type. I'm just using code completion here. You type in S1, hit the dot, it'll come up. S1 dot, and we'll say the price is next. And the last one is toasted. Okay, let's run it. Verify all of our details have come out. Perfect. Everything looks like it worked great. Okay. Now, I want to show you something here. If I were to go like this and go s1.price equals $8. This is completely valid. It will no longer be $6.99. It would now be $8. If I run it, the new value is $8. Okay. This is actually not good coding practice. What I'm doing is I'm directly modifying the variable built inside my sandwich. And this is actually not the best way of doing it. What we want to do is we want to actually protect all of the information inside the sandwich. We don't want one class to see the variables in another class. So I'm going to do something to this. So for these variables, right now, there's nothing in front. But there actually is a modifier. Like you see right here, it says public sandwich and public class. These variables are currently public. And that's why I can do this. I can actually directly see the variable. I can directly print it out, like I'm doing here. And I can directly change it just like I did on this line. This becomes a problem. Like what if you have multiple objects with price variables? Then you can get very confused. So what typically happens is we want to make these things what's called private. And we're gonna put some restrictions on these variables. So let's make these all private. And I'll show you how things are gonna change once I do this. We're gonna make private variables. So what private does is it basically makes these variables visible only inside of the sandwich. So if you're outside the sandwich, like say I'm in my main on this other class here, I can't see inside of it. I can't see the price directly. Okay, so now all this stuff is giving me headaches, right? It says price has private access. I can't directly change it anymore. I can't directly print it out either. So what we can do though is we can make methods to go and get around this barrier. So for example, let's deal with the lunch meat type first. So if I want to change the lunch meat type, I'm going to do something like this. Public void set meat type bracket string underscore lunch meat curly bracket, and then let me just do this so you get more room to see here. And then we're just going to say lunch meat type equals underscore lunch meat type. Okay, this is what's called a set variable or an set variable. This is a set method, also known as an accessor method. So what this is designed to do is it's designed for me to change the lunch meat type variable. But I'm going to use this method to do it. So I'm going to send the information in through the brackets, and it's going to get replaced. This thing will get replaced with whatever I used in here. Okay. Now that method returns nothing out of it. So this is why we put void here. It returns nothing out of the method. Let's go and build the other sets. It's the same idea for all of them. So public void set cheese type string underscore cheese type. And inside of here, all we're going to say is cheese type equals underscore cheese type. Like that. And the price one is slightly different. We're going to go public void set price. And I'm going to use double underscore price. Like that. So the only difference really is that I'm using a double variable here instead of a string. And that's only because price is a double. And then I'm going to go price equals underscore price. And then finally, I'm going to say public void set is toasted. So set toasted. And I'm going to send in boolean underscore is toasted. And then is toasted equals underscore is toasted. Okay. So these are my set methods. These are methods I can use to change any of these variables after the sandwich has already been made. So in my code back here, if I want to set the price to $8, what I have to do now is I have to go s1 dot set price, because that's my method name. I'm going to set the price now to $8, like that. That is now valid. So this is a function or a method built into the sandwich object where I send it $8 and it replaces the current price with that number. So, but I did it using a method instead. So this is a much safer way of dealing with it, because inside these methods I can put if statements inside here. I can do other kind of checks and things like that. Like if I want to make sure that the price is not negative, I can do that inside of here. Instead of this part, I can verify it inside the sandwich. So a lot of times it's better to have methods versus directly editing those variables. I'm forcing the user to go through the methods to actually send in the information that we need. Okay, so now that solves part of our problem. This stuff, though, still has an issue. What if I want to print everything out? I can't just directly print out the variable anymore. Now I have to make what's called get methods. So the get methods will typically look like this. So you have to know what you're getting out. So I want to get the lunch meat type, right? That's a string. So the way I'm going to write it is I'm going to write public string. It's going to be a string I'm going to get out of it. And call it get lunch meat type. And put bracket, so it doesn't need any input. And all this is going to say is return lunch meat type. Just need to see the way it's spelled. Lunch meat type. That's it. So if I call this method, it takes no input, but it sends me back a string, and the string that I'm going to get back is the lunch meat type. Let's make the other ones. Public string get cheese type. Bracket, return cheese type. Public double get price. The price is a double, so I'm going to get back a double, right? And I'm going to say return price. And the last one was a Boolean, so public Boolean. So remember, this first thing here, this is the type of variable that's coming out of it. So public Boolean get toasted. And return is toasted. Okay, so these are the 4 methods I'm going to use in order to get my information out of the object now. So what I have to do now over here instead is, instead of saying s1.lunchMeatType, I'm going to go s1.getLunchMeatType. So I'm going to use this method. This will return the lunchMeatType, and it'll be printed out after that. If I want the cheese, I have to go s1.getCheeseType. Or whatever my method is called. Like if you called it something different, you would use whatever you called it. Okay, this would be the getPrice. And then this one would be the getToasted. Okay, this should work perfectly now. So we got a roast beef sandwich, provolone. It's now $8 because I changed it right here. And it is true that it's toasted. Okay, so this is exactly how you want to use this. So you can use s1.set, and you can change anything you want. So you can set set the meat type maybe to ham instead. And this is how you can change the variables, and this is how you actually can get the variables out. You can print them like this. Make sure this works. So it's ham, provolone, $8, and true. Okay. Now what if you had, I'm going to add one more thing to this lesson. What if you had a lot of things to print out? Like what if your sandwich had 10 variables, for example? You'd have to do 10 lines like this for each sandwich, and that becomes a bit of a pain. What you can do is, I'm going to actually just collapse some of these, just to make it a bit easier to read. Okay. I'm going to make a method called toString. I'm going to show you how this works. You write public string toString like this, bracket, and a curly bracket. And inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to build basically a sentence or a string, and we're going to return it. And it's going to contain all of our variables. So the lunch meat type, the cheese type, and everything. I'll show you how nice this is going to work out. So usually the way I do it is I create a string called output. And I just set it equal to just an empty string like this. And then what I do is I just keep attaching lines to it. So I go plus equals means attached to. So we're going to keep attaching, and it'll look like this. Lunch meat, colon, and then we're going to attach in lunch meat type. I think that was the variable name, right? Yep. And then plus a /n. /n means carriage return or enter. So it's going to say the sentence lunch meat. It's going to say ham or whatever it is, and then put an enter there. And then we're going to attach another line. The cheese. Oops. I'm going to attach in the cheese type. And then a /n for that one as well. And then we'll do the price. We'll add in the price. And then enter at the end. And then finally, whether it's toasted or not. Like that. This one, I mean, I could put an enter /n at the end, but I don't know if it's necessarily needed. So what I've basically done is I've built up a single string called output. I kept attaching all these lines into it, so it's basically one long sentence that contains all of the details of my current object. And then what I'm going to do next is return it. Return output, just like that. Okay, now, yeah, so I forgot to do one thing. We've got to add the override annotation in front of this. I'll explain why we're going to do that in a sec here. There we go. So we'll put that in front. Now, watch what I'm going to do next. Okay, so I've got here, this is my current print mechanism. I'm going to just comment this out. And what's really cool about the toString method is toString returns a single string that contains all of my details, right? Watch this. System out println s1.toString. That should print everything out, one single line of code. Perfect. Okay. Now what's really cool about toString is that toString is a very special type of method name. And every object actually has the toString method built inside of it, which is pretty neat. So when we overwrite it like this, what we can actually do is we can do this. We don't even need to put toString. We can say print out S1, print out sandwich number 1, just like that. And boom, it'll still work. Java knows if you're trying to print out the S1 object, it's going to take a look and see if it can find the toString method. It needs to be named exactly the way I named it here. But if you do that, it will run this and it'll get back whatever sentence you put in there. And it'll print it out. So what you start to see is that your programs become smaller and smaller in the main. You know, to print it out, I can do one line of code now, right? Very, very simple stuff. You make very small main methods, and a lot of the work you start dumping into your objects. So this object will actually sort of technically print itself. You know, you're just telling it, print out the object, and it's coming out already, right? There's nothing you have to do. If you make a second sandwich, you just print out, you know, S2, and it will come out. So anyway, this was a little demo of just showing you what private variables are, how to use set methods. So these were the set methods. Oops, I can open these back up again. So set meat, set cheese type, set price, set toasted. Then we have get methods. So we have sets and gets, or gets and sets. Gets return the variables out, and sets will change the variables inside them. And finally, there's a little demo of how the toString method works in Java as it relates to objects.